Basel, Switzerland. Central Bahnplatz 2. An unremarkable 18-story tower in a quiet European city. Boring architecture. No dramatic facade. Nothing that suggests power or importance. This building controls more wealth than any government. Makes decisions that affect billions of people. Operates completely outside democratic oversight. And you've probably never heard of it. This is the Bank for International Settlements. The BIS. The Central Bank of Central Banks. The institution where the heads of the Federal Reserve, European Central Bank, Bank of England, and People's Bank of China meet every 2 months behind closed doors. No press allowed, no minutes published, no transcripts released, no public accountability. The most powerful financial institution on earth operates in complete secrecy. When Jerome Powell, Christine Lagarde, or any other central banker makes a decision that moves markets, crashes currencies, or triggers recessions, they're not acting independently. They're coordinating. Here, in Basel, at meetings you're not allowed to know about. Your elected officials don't control monetary policy. They don't even know what's discussed in these meetings. The people who actually control the global financial system are unelected bureaucrats who answer to no government, no constitution, no voters. And it gets darker, much darker. During World War II, while soldiers died in trenches, the BIS hosted Nazi and Allied central bankers at the same table. They laundered Nazi gold, gold stolen from Jews, from conquered nations, from victims of genocide. This institution took blood money and made it clean. They've never been prosecuted, never held accountable, never even apologized, because they exist outside law, outside jurisdiction, outside any form of oversight. This is the story they don't want you to know. The institution that makes the Illuminati look like a book club. The real power behind every financial crisis, every monetary decision, every economic policy that affects your life. Welcome to Basel, where democracy goes to die. Every 2 months, the most powerful people in global finance board private jets. They fly to Basel. They enter the tower at Central Bahnplatz 2, and they disappear into meetings that determine the fate of currencies, economies, and nations. The Federal Reserve Chairman, the ECB President, the Bank of England Governor, the heads of Swiss, Japanese, Chinese, and dozens of other central banks. All in one room. No cameras, no recordings, no oversight. What do they discuss? Officially, they coordinate monetary policy, exchange information, share research, standard central banking cooperation. The reality? They're making decisions that governments will later implement, setting policies that parliaments will rubber stamp, coordinating interventions that will move trillions in capital without any democratic input. When central banks worldwide cut rates simultaneously, that's not coincidence, that's Basel coordination. When multiple countries adopt similar regulatory frameworks, that's not parallel thinking, that's Basel consensus. When the global financial system moves in lockstep, that's not market forces, that's Basel orchestration. The BIS is where actual power resides, not in Washington, not in Brussels, not in Beijing, in a boring Swiss tower that most people will never see and to whose decisions they'll never know about. But understanding BIS requires understanding its history, and that history is soaked in blood. 1930. The Bank for International Settlements is founded, ostensibly to manage German reparations from World War I, actually to create a permanent forum for central bank cooperation independent of government oversight. The founding members include the central banks of Germany, Belgium, France, Britain, Italy, Japan, and a consortium of American banks. From the beginning, this is designed to operate above national authority, a financial Vatican with its own sovereignty. Then, 1939, war breaks out, Europe is burning, millions are dying, and the BIS keeps meeting. Nazi Germany remains a member, so does Britain, so does France, until occupation. Then Vichy France joins. The belligerents are shooting each other on battlefields while their central bankers are shaking hands in Basel. American board members resign in protest. But American banks don't. They continue participating through proxies. Business continues. The war is irrelevant to central banking cooperation. And then comes the gold, stolen gold, Nazi gold. Germany conquers Czechoslovakia, seizes the Czech national gold reserves, ships it to BIS. BIS accepts it, no questions asked, treats it as legitimate deposits, uses it in international transactions. This isn't isolated. Throughout the war, BIS handles Nazi gold. Gold taken from Holocaust victims, wedding rings melted down, dental fillings extracted from corpses, property seized from deported families. All of it flows through BIS accounts. They know where it comes from. They know it's stolen. They accept it anyway. Because BIS exists to facilitate central banking operations, not to make moral judgments, not to enforce law, just to keep the system functioning. American and British officials discover this. They're horrified. They demand BIS be shut down, that it be prosecuted for collaborating with the enemy, for laundering stolen assets, for war profiteering. Nothing happens. BIS claims neutrality. Switzerland protects them. The institution is too useful to eliminate, so they survive, continue operating, never face consequences. After the war, there are calls for Nuremberg-style trials for BIS officials, for prosecuting the bankers who shook hands with Nazis while their countries were at war. The evidence is overwhelming, the guilt is clear. And then silence. The investigations stop, the evidence disappears. BIS not only survives, but expands, becomes more powerful, more influential, more untouchable. Why? Because every major central bank in the world uses BIS, needs BIS, depends on the coordination and secrecy it provides. Shutting it down would mean exposing how deeply complicit they all were. Better to bury the history and move forward. The lesson BIS learned? You can get away with anything if you're essential enough to the system. Immunity isn't just legal, it's structural. If you control the financial plumbing, you're too important to prosecute. So how does an institution accused of laundering Nazi gold not only survive, but become more powerful? By being legally untouchable. The BIS headquarters agreement with Switzerland is extraordinary. It grants BIS and its employees immunities that exceed most diplomatic privileges. Swiss police cannot enter BIS property without permission, ever. The building is sovereign territory. Swiss law doesn't apply inside those walls. BIS employees have full diplomatic immunity. They cannot be prosecuted for any crime in Switzerland, cannot be sued, cannot be compelled to testify, cannot be investigated. BIS archives and documents are inviolable. No court can subpoena them, no government can demand access, no investigation can penetrate them. BIS communications are protected. Their phones can't be tapped, their emails can't be intercepted legally, their meetings can't be monitored. This isn't normal banking regulation. This is sovereign immunity usually reserved for nation states. But BIS isn't a nation. It's a private institution owned by central banks, with legal protections that exceed almost any government entity. Why does Switzerland grant this? Because BIS brings prestige, deposits massive amounts of money in Swiss banks, and employs highly paid staff who spend in the local economy. It's a lucrative arrangement. Switzerland profits from hosting the untouchable. But the immunity extends beyond Switzerland. BIS has special status in international law. Most countries recognize its diplomatic immunity. Its employees can operate globally with protections that intelligence agents would envy. What this means practically: if BIS commits crimes, there's no legal mechanism to prosecute. If employees break laws, there's no way to charge them. If the institution makes decisions that destroy economies, there's no recourse. They exist in a legal black hole, deliberately constructed, carefully maintained, absolutely protected. And they use this immunity to do what no accountable institution could do: manipulate markets on a global scale. The power of BIS isn't just coordination, it's operational. They don't just talk about financial policy, they execute it. And nowhere is this clearer than gold. For most of history, central banks held gold reserves, real physical gold, the foundation of monetary systems, the ultimate store of value. BIS offers a service. Central banks can deposit their gold with BIS instead of storing it themselves. BIS will manage it, trade it, lend it, and report the deposits as if the central bank still holds the gold domestically. This creates a shell game. Gold physically moves to Basel, but officially stays on national balance sheets. The central bank looks like it has reserves. BIS actually controls them. Now, BIS can do something no individual central bank could: coordinate gold market interventions globally. And they did exactly this through the London Gold Pool. 1960s. Gold prices are rising. The Bretton Woods system, which pegged dollars to gold at $35 per ounce, is under pressure. If gold trades above $35, the dollar standard collapses. Currency's chaos ensues. Central banks form the London Gold Pool, coordinated through BIS. The goal? Suppress gold prices by flooding the market with supply whenever prices rise. BIS acts as the operational center. They coordinate which central banks sell how much gold when. They manage the logistics. They execute the trades. They keep it secret. For years it works. Gold prices stay suppressed. The dollar peg holds. The system survives. But it's not market pricing. It's manipulation. Coordinated intervention to maintain artificial values. Eventually the pool collapses. They run out of gold to sell. Prices explode. Nixon closes the gold window in 1971. Bretton Woods dies. But BIS learned the playbook. Coordinate in secret, manipulate markets, claim it's monetary policy, not market rigging, avoid accountability through opacity, and they're still doing it. Gold lending, price interventions, managing reserves for central banks who trust BIS more than their own vaults. The gold market isn't free, it's managed. From Basel. Every time gold prices move mysteriously against fundamentals, ask yourself, is this market forces or is this Basel calling the shots? So what's BIS doing now? Still coordinating central banks, still operating in secrecy, but working on something that makes gold manipulation look quaint. central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. And BIS is running the project called M-Bridge. This isn't theoretical. BIS is actively building the infrastructure for central banks to issue digital currencies directly to citizens. No commercial banks needed, no cash, no privacy, total control. Think about what this means. Right now, when you use cash, the transaction is private, anonymous, untraceable. The government doesn't know what you bought or who you paid. With CBDC, every transaction goes through the central bank. Every purchase is recorded. Every payment is monitored. They know what you buy, where you spend, how you save. Complete financial surveillance. But it gets worse. With digital currency, they can program money, set expiration dates so savings lose value, restrict purchases to approved merchants, block transactions to disfavored groups, freeze accounts without court orders. This isn't paranoia. These are features central banks openly discuss. The ability to have negative interest rates by making money disappear from your account. The ability to impose economic sanctions on individuals instantly. The ability to control spending patterns through programmed restrictions. BIS is coordinating this globally, making sure different countries' CBDCs work together, building the rails for a worldwide digital monetary system with no cash option, no escape. And they're doing it in Basel, behind closed doors, with no public input, no democratic debate. No ability for citizens to vote on whether they want their money to become a surveillance and control tool. The same institution that laundered Nazi gold is building the infrastructure for financial totalitarianism. The same organization that operates above all law is designing a system where they control every economic transaction on Earth. This is the endgame, not cryptocurrency freedom, not decentralized finance. Centralized digital control administered by unelected bureaucrats in a Swiss tower who answer to no one. So here we are, the Bank for International Settlements, the institution you didn't know existed, operating in a building you'll never enter, making decisions you'll never vote on, implementing policies you can't oppose. They survived laundering Nazi gold. They've manipulated gold markets for decades. They operate with legal immunity that exceeds nation-states. And now they're building the digital cage for the entire global economy. Your elected officials are irrelevant. They implement what Basel decides. Your national central bank is subordinate. They coordinate with Basel leadership. Your financial freedom is temporary. Basel is designing its elimination. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is documented history and publicly stated policy. BIS exists. Their immunities are legal fact. Their WWJDASing activities are historical record. Their CBDC work is published on their website. The only question is whether anyone cares. Whether democratic societies will demand accountability from institutions designed to be unaccountable. Whether people will fight for financial freedom before it's programmed away. Because Basel doesn't stop unless forced to stop. They didn't face consequences for Nazi gold. They won't face consequences for digital control. Not unless people understand what's happening and demand change. But demanding change requires knowing the enemy. And the enemy has been invisible by design. Hidden in Basel. Operating in shadow. Protected by immunity. Until now, we follow the money to show you who really holds the leash. Now I want to hear from you. Should an unelected institution with total legal immunity be designing the future of money? Is BIS coordination necessary for financial stability? Or is it an anti-democratic threat that should be abolished? When your government can't even subpoena their records, who really holds sovereignty? Drop your answer in the comments. Necessary evil or abolish BIS?